We know that flunstellars are flocks, clusters and constellations of ideas, emotions and memories. We know that they're all around us. But what do they look like? What do they sound like? And what do they mean? We asked a group of specialists from arts, science and wellbeing backgrounds to spend some time thinking about these questions and to share what they found as 10-minute presentations. The Flunconference was hosted at FACT, the Foundation for Art and Creative Technology, as part of the Knowledge Lives Everywhere exhibition.
So why explore flunstellars? I thought that might be something that'd be worth talking about in the first place, you know, why bother exploring? And I think, I don't know about anyone else, but I just find people completely terrifying and confusing, you know, people are really, you know, how do you ever know what people are thinking, or what the hell they're doing, or why they're acting the way they're acting, you know, it's always quite troubling and confusing, really. And I think some of that might be because of the ways we think about ourselves and how we communicate. So I should probably mention as well, for those of you, I think most people in this room have spoken to me about flunstellars in the past, but those of you that haven't, flunstellars are flocks, clusters and constellations of ideas, memories and emotions that have been disembodied from people and then float around social spaces. So I'm sure we could all probably look around this room and wonder, you know, what people's ideas and memories look like if we could actually see them, you know, in the space here. I think something I'm quite familiar with is, you know, you're having a conversation with someone about, I don't know, the football or something on telly last night or something that happened a few years ago that you were upset about. And we get talking about these things as if they're objects, as if they're things. And quite often, you know, that's really confusing. You know, you can think you're talking about a holiday from last year, and actually you're talking to someone about their whole matrix of emotions and ideas and memories that are connected to that, and the whole set of language and psychological associations that come with that. And you're talking about your own. And quite often, you know, we talk as if we're talking about the thing, when actually we need to be talking about each other's networks and understandings. Another thing I find a bit confusing sometimes is just the idea of, you know, where are emotions, or where are memories, or where are ideas? And usually if you ask people kind of go, oh, well, my ideas are here, and my feelings are here. And I think that's true sometimes, but, you know, when I think of something I'm really confused about from, I don't know, a run-in with a family member a couple of years ago, it's kind of over there somewhere. And when I'm struggling for an idea and trying to, you know, get to a new kind of connection to make sense of something, it's usually over here, you know, and there's this kind of spatial sense of ideas that doesn't quite fit with the idea of the body as being some sort of container, you know, as if this is what we are, you know, it's just this thing, not much else. So yeah, I think that's been in lots of ways quite a damaging metaphor that we use, really. You know, we think of ourselves as a container quite often. Not so much maybe in lots of different specialisms, but when we kind of chat about how we're feeling or how we're thinking, you know, we'll say, I'm welling up with emotion, or I'm up to here with this, as if emotions are something that are inside, they're a bit kind of unknown. Or maybe sometimes we'll talk about memories as if we're going through a filing cabinet. We don't really know about the filing cabinet, but we're kind of sifting through it. And then maybe more recently we use the metaphor of the computer, as if you know you're processing something, but like I don't have a clue how a computer works. It's just a black box to me, and I kind of trust in its magic. And I think sometimes we have that attitude to ourselves. You know that there's processing going on here, but we don't have a clue what's going on. And I think some of that might be connected with ideas of these emotions and ideas and memories being just inside instead of being outside. One second, just have a look at my notes. Yeah, so what if all these mental objects, all these emotional objects, all these things were on the outside instead of the inside? I think probably it gives us a chance to share them a bit easier and actually explore them instead of just, you know, talking about them as if they're some sort of invisible magic. And I suppose if people are involved in that, in visualising how we think in space in a way that we can see, then also it'd be quite handy for us to think about how my mental processes are completely different to say Lucy's, and again different to Steve's there maybe. So the idea of Flunconference in lots of ways is to kind of try and set up a bit of a toolkit for exploring these kind of ideas. Particularly I suppose the ideas of these emotions being on the outside, instead of being like some sort of dead system, being something that's a little bit more organic, maybe a little bit more natural. So you know, in some ways like a constellation, in some ways like a flock, and in some ways like a cluster. And obviously, you know, just metaphors really to be thrown up to put a bit of a signpost to something that we're not sure what these things are, but it could be a mixture of these living metaphors. And we've got Flunconference has been set up as, at the minute, a bit of a construction kit with which we can try and explore these things. And the reason I've asked people here tonight is just to open that up a little bit. I've been looking into this for years, following my particular obsessions. But I think actually, if this can be opened up, hopefully the people that are going to speak here tonight will be able to explore, respond, create, or kind of be in relation to this idea of Flunconference in a way that I'd never think of. And that's probably the point of it, really, I suppose. Maybe in the 20th century, as a modernist artist, you're trying to approach the idea of mind and consciousness by introspecting and by sitting in a room, and you know, the artist is author of all these different representations of mind and consciousness and stuff. Whereas I think now it's probably more interesting to start a bit of a framework, involve other people, hopefully, and for this to be something that's co-authored, because ultimately, the more different people are authoring these kind of ideas, the more richness and interest we get.